Hello, listeners. This episode of the VideoGamer Podcast is late. Very late. Due to forgetfulness, some technical issues, and a dose of sheer laziness on my end, this chat with Bear McCreary has taken quite a few months to get out. We recorded this episode back in mid-February to promote two things: the 20th anniversary PlayStation concert, which included some of Bear McCreary's music, and Bear McCreary's still ongoing Themes and Variations tour, which is wrapping up at the end of this month in Australia. Hopefully this delay doesn't detract too much from enjoying the episode, but feel free to grill me in whatever comments are still active on whatever platforms have comments turned on. I will not be reading them, but you're free to do it anyway, and enjoy. Hello, Bear. How are you doing? Getting ready for your big tour?
I'm doing very well. And yes, I am getting ready in the midst of tour prep while I am writing on many projects. Too many projects, one might argue. But yeah, life is good, man. I'm very excited about everything I get to do.
How does it feel being like one of the composers with, I would say, your filmography? Well, I guess what is an ography between film, TV, and games? But it is absolutely stacked. Do you ever stop working?
No. No, not really. I was just thinking recently that the longest stretch in my life since I was 13 of me not writing music at my computer will be when I'm on tour.
Oh my God.
So you could argue that this tour is like, well, that's me not working. I'm on tour, but is the tour, I think my wife and kids would probably classify that as working. So I don't know that counts.
I barely leave my house. So yeah, if you're on tour, you're working.
Yeah, there you go. But it doesn't feel like work, man. It all feels like fun and games. I get to wake up every morning and play with music and imagine, musical worlds and especially to be part of these really incredible stories and characters that inspire me. I think that's the reason why I work so much, is that I just love it so much. I feel so lucky to be able to do it. There just aren't enough hours in the day, man.
Well, because this is a video game centric podcast, I just want to say, by the way, I loved the music that you did for Godzilla King of the Monsters. I'm a huge Godzilla fan.
Thanks.
I don't think you can see it, but there's a bunch of Godzilla shit behind me. But yeah, I adored your themes for Godzilla King of the Monsters. But there's a video game podcast, and I think the video game you are most known for is God of War, the 2018 reboot and also its sequel. I was wondering, for me, one of the things that sticks with me about that God of War 2018 soundtrack is you kind of feel that building of rage, and then the suppression of rage throughout the entire soundtrack. And I was wondering how you brought that intensity to the soundtrack that kind of mirrored Kratos' journey in that reboot.
The time span for me working on God of War 2018 and then again on Ragnarok was about 4 years.
Yeah.
So first of all, there was a healthy amount of time to develop themes. I think on God of War, I spent a year writing themes. Now, this isn't uncommon to start with writing themes. That's how I like to start. And when I met Cory Barlog, the director-writer, he told me the story of a grieving father and his estranged son taking the ashes of their deceased wife and mother to the highest peak in all the realms per her dying wish. I thought, well, I can do this. This sounds like a show. This sounds like a movie. This is what I do. They wanted something emotional and surprising to a fan base that was used to more aggression and bombast in the score, to put it lightly. I was a fan of the Greek games and was sort of shocked by this, honestly. As a fan of God of War, I was shocked by what Cory was telling me. Excited though. So I wrote a theme that got approved. It was I was hired before the game was greenlit. So there was what's called a vertical slice.
Yeah.
that was being developed, and I was brought on to score that. So I wrote about a half hour of music for this vertical slice, which would eventually be shown to the top brass. They greenlight the game. And then it's like, then we start working on the game. So I worked on the game for 6 months before the game even really got going. In that vertical slice, I wrote a theme for Kratos that was everything Corey asked for. And he loved it. The whole team loved it. It was sung by a female singer. We brought in this woman named Ivor. And it was inspired by Scandinavian music, drew from the same harmonic modes, same scales, and it was very sad. Da 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 da. That's the Kratos theme, dude. That's the Kratos theme for a year. After a year, it just becomes clear this isn't working. And they said, look, we love that theme, but, it's not working. You got to toss it. We need to do something else that can play his suppressed rage. This is my long-winded way of getting to your question, right? Because they acknowledge this exact thing. This wasn't working. It was playing sadness, but I think we all realized that Kratos is on an arc where even to recognize that he is sad, for himself to have that self-realization, that's later in the game. He's so cut off from his emotions that this music that is so emotional is almost getting ahead of his character arc. It's breaking the story. So I was very sad to delete that. In the trash it went. And I wrote a new theme that I was hoping would be stoic and powerful, but reserved, slow, ponderous.
Is that big, like, oh?
That's where they came from.
Yeah.
And actually, even that being a repeated gesture was the last thing. I had a drums just going dun, 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 dun. And then the brass. Dun, 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 dun. And then, like, right before I sent it to Corey, minutes before, I thought, that beginning's boring. I'm in a jam. I'll take the first 3 notes of the melody and just repeat them. Boom. Bum, 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 bum. Well, that was it, right? That's like all the pieces are suddenly there. That's Kratos' theme. It was born. And then a few months later, we get into cinematics. I've got a theme for Kratos, and I think by this point I had written a theme for Freya, and I had written a theme for Baldur, and a couple other odds and ends. And I thought, I got my pieces. Here we go. So I start scoring the cinematics as they come in. What's the first one that comes in? Atreus at his mother's funeral. Lighting the candles, putting his head on her body. Kratos walks in, picks up her body, puts it on the fire. I'm trying not to tear up as I even just say these simple words. It's such an emotional scene. Okay. Da, 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 da. That's not working. It's not working. It doesn't work for all the reasons that it works for Kratos. It doesn't work in the scene. Well, then I thought, well, damn, maybe I go back to that first one. But they told me they didn't like it. They told me to throw it out. But I brought it back. I did not tell them, hey, remember that thing you told me to delete? Here it is. No, I was wondering, because when you did that piece of music, I was like, I recognize that. And then you were like, I threw it out. So I wasn't going crazy. Okay. Yes, you recognize it because it's not only in that scene, it is in God of War 2018, minute by minute, as much as Kratos' theme. It's equally important. And the reason is its inherent sadness. The reason I wrote it, which is why it didn't work for Kratos, is why it worked for Atreus and for Faye. For the mother, even though she's not in the game, she needed a theme. And that was not an obvious decision. And then, of course, you think about it, then we have these moments like where Kratos hears, well, it's arguable. Kratos hears her singing. He hears this lullaby. He hears Ivor singing the theme I wrote, but it is coded in such a way that it's clearly in universe. It's not just the score. Like, that is actually a voice he's hearing. So that theme became crucial to the story. That is how the process of balancing those needs of the story versus the realities of what every given moment needs really pays off when you've got the time to do that. That was not an obvious decision, right? If you had hired me to score God of War and you got 3 months to do it, I don't know what would have happened, you know? But that's the way I got into the theme writing on God of War 2018. And as you have sort of already implied, those 3 notes, I mean, it's like, if I did nothing else for God of War, if I just did bum bum bum, I could be like, oh, there you guys go, take that and run with it. You know, it's still pretty cool.
I mean, that moment when that music kicks in at E3 reveal, I think is like, it's probably one of PlayStation's strongest moments at E3. And this is a company that's been at E3 for, well, E3's dead, but
yeah,
well,
but
20 years.
But I hear you, and that it was a contender for the greatest moment in my creative life. I mean, for people that don't know, when this game was announced in 2016, it was at the E3 presentation that Sony did at the Shrine Theater in Los Angeles, and it was packed. It's where they used to do the Oscars, okay? It's this beautiful old theater. Red curtain is down, and there's an orchestra in the front, and there's a choir off to the left, and there's this interesting Faroese singer named Ivor off on the other side. And then I walk out and start playing a piece of music you've never heard before. So just that alone. I don't want to say never, but it's so rare to start with music that isn't nostalgic. It's not like we're playing the hits. We're not playing the old God of War theme. We're just playing this new piece of music, and not for a minute. It's like a 4-minute fanfare. It's like West Side Story, right? Or Lawrence of Arabia. It's like, this is an overture, guys. And then the curtains open and you see a little boy playing with toys. And then somebody calls him and he gets up and he runs into this cabin in the woods and he's talking to someone off screen. Then, and only then, it's been like 6 minutes. Kratos, with a beard, old and scarred, steps out of the shadows. That moment, when I assigned those 3 notes that you've been hearing for the last 5 minutes, he steps out, boom, bum, 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 and I'm conducting them with a live orchestra. The first time people see his face, hear those 3 notes associated with him, the feeling I got. I mean, I'm getting chills talking about it. Like, the crowd, it was euphoric.
That's just the crowd that you could hear as well. Like, yeah, obviously afterwards, like, you see all these reactions of people like reacting to that reveal as well, and it's just like, did you feel in that moment? Like, it feels impossible to feel it in that moment that like millions of people around the world are also cheering outside of that theater.
I mean, let me put it this way: it was the greatest night of my creative life, and I wasn't even considering that. Okay, so yes, that was something that I got to enjoy after the fact, watching the reaction videos as the game came out to Baldur's first appearance, to finding the the Blades of Chaos, to finding out about Freya, and like people were sharing their reaction, and I was so grateful for those YouTube videos because it's like I don't get to be in the living room with you. So thank you for sharing that experience. And jumping ahead to a question you haven't asked, it's like that's why I wanted to do these concerts, man, because it's like that feeling of being in the room and conducting an ensemble going bum 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 bum. I'm greedy for that. I want this in my life more. So that is why I have put together the Themes and Variations tour. Fundamentally, that's why.
So this is actually a question from a friend of mine called Jacob, who's a huge fan of yours and also is way more musically talented than me. And they asked me to not like mention them and pretend it was my question, but it's their
All right,
question.
nice. But it's really musically sophisticated. Is that what you're saying?
It's more musically sophisticated than anything I could come up with.
All right.
So They wanted to know like what musical influences you drew from for the God of War soundtrack, and one thing that they believe was an inspiration, or sounds like an inspiration, is Gustav Holst's The Planet, which is an inspiration for it's an orchestral suite that's an inspiration for a lot of cinematic war music, including the Imperial March.
All right, Jacob, here we go, Jacob. That's a good question. And you know your stuff if you talk about Holst's The Planets. If you look at Stravinsky and Prokofiev and Ravel, those four composers, you put them together and you have a huge percentage of what is the Hollywood sound from the late mid 30s through, well, basically to now. And certainly, John Williams brought this tradition back in the late 70s. So, those composers are my influence as much as they are everyone's influence. I will say, Jacob, that the thing to check out, though, that I am just shameless in how much I borrow from, one of my favorite scores of all time, top 5, easy. This is a Take It to a Desert Island soundtrack for me. Basil Polidoris's Conan the Barbarian. Conan the Barbarian borrows from Carmina Burana by Carl Orff. It borrows from The Planets in as much as everybody does. But Basil Polidoris captured the perfect balance in Conan the Barbarian between brute force and heart-wrenching beauty, gobsmacking beauty. And that balance has always fascinated me. It's easily my favorite fantasy score of all time, which I sometimes, put up my shields when I say to Lord of the Rings fans, because this is a no-brainer, man. Basil Polidoris came out of the gate. This was like his first major score, basically. So listen to that. And you listen to my, not only God of War, listen to the Khazad-dûm theme in Lord of the Rings, listen to Masters of the Universe, Revelation. I mean, it's like this was so profoundly influential for me, but not because it was badass, because it is, but because it's badass and also has these beautiful, lush, orchestral, emotional moments, which is what you want out of a good, fantasy score. You want might and beauty. And I think as I was thinking about Kratos, it gets to that first question you asked. You insightfully asked the most difficult question: suppressed rage. How do you do that? Playing rage is relatively obvious how you do that. The Greek games did it masterfully. But how do you play suppressed rage, right? How do you, and I think that I did look at Conan the Barbarian's music for that reason, that it's like there's this might, but also there's nuance. There's emotional color, there's conflict, there's torment, waiting to erupt. And I think that's why I checked it out. So Jacob, if you don't know Conan the Barbarian, go check it out. And there's a re-recording that was done in Prague. I forget the name of the conductor, but it's really good. And they picked up all the cues that didn't make it on the soundtrack album. I would highly recommend you guys check out the re-record.
Jacob and Jacob's dad are huge fans of Conan the Barbarian, so that's going to make them squeal.
Oh, there you go. I knew it. Okay. Nick Raine is the conductor. N-I-C-R-A-I-N-E. Nick Raine, conductor of the Conan the Barbarian re-record. Highly recommend. It's a 2 CD thing. Put it on and just be immersed in Basil Polidoris' immortal music.
I wonder if anyone's actually edited that into the movie, actually. That'd be really cool.
I wonder. Famously, so check this out. Conan the Barbarian was the last major feature film released in mono.
Oh, no.
Okay? It famous sounds horrible. And honestly, the performance is famously bad of the score as well. They had to, it was a Dino De Laurentiis production, so they recorded it in Rome with an orchestra that wasn't used to, doing sessions. Basil famously didn't like the performance, and you can hear it. But its heart is in the right place. But yeah, I do. I mean, when I watch the Blu-ray, I mean, it's at least in stereo now. I don't know that, but yes, to line up the music with the re-record would be pretty awesome. And now you're making me might get one of my interns to do that.
So you worked on the Halo TV show. You were brought in for season 2. So my mic arm's broken, so don't judge me, but I've got a Master Chief holding my
Nice.
holding my microphone. So Halo is as important to me as Godzilla is. So that's 2 franchises you've worked on.
Wow,
cool. I was wondering, like, you come into Halo season 2, the main theme's immediately different. It brings in the Halo theme, which was missing.
Which was what? What did you think of that?
What did I think of the season 1 missing it, or your version of it?
No, what did you think of it when you heard the new main title? As a fan of Halo, what did you think?
I stood up from my fucking sofa and I whooped and I cheered.
All right. There you go.
I was genuinely so happy because, I mean, I like the Halo TV series. Like, I'm a huge Halo fan. Like, I read the books, I play the games, I watch the web series. And you know, I think season 1's music was good, but it wasn't Halo. It was more generic sci-fi, Mass Effect-y. Like, again, it wasn't bad. It was enjoyable. It just didn't fit Halo. You come in and you kind of bring in the motifs of like Marty O'Donnell and Michael Salvatore's music. And obviously you're a game composer as well. I wonder if like maybe your work in that field and your respect of video game music kind of like you looked at Halo and you were like, well, obviously it needs these themes to come into.
Yeah. Yes. I mean, it definitely, my experience with game composition informed that, right? Like, if somebody makes a show of some game I've done, I would really appreciate it if they use my theme. You know what I mean? Like that, I would hope for that in the reverse scenario. But it's also what I do with everything that I approach when I approach playing with someone else's toys.
King of the Monsters famously like uses the 1954 theme like
yeah, I mean with Godzilla, King of the Monsters, that was one where I, the director and I both advocated very strongly that we have access to this thematic material. I even used the Blue Oyster Cult Godzilla song as I wanted to hear that. I mean, I just think about, what do fans want to hear? I started my career with Battlestar Galactica, and that one, I started as an assistant on the miniseries, and in the miniseries, Stu Phillips' classic theme from the 70s was used essentially as a joke, as like there was a news reporter, and like the news fanfare theme was the old theme. And I always felt that there should be more acknowledgement of what that old music did for Battlestar Galactica. So when I took over the show, I looked for places to use it authentically. And I shouldn't say authentically, that was an authentic use, but to use it emotionally, not as a cameo, as a real theme. And I'm not going to spoil Battlestar Galactica. I highly recommend you watch it. But the last time you see the Battlestar Galactica, in this big, beautiful series of shots without dialogue, it's Stu Phillips' old theme that you are hearing, not one of mine. And the reason you're hearing that is because I thought that was what the best thing would be for the show, for fans. And so I've had all these different opportunities. Sometimes I get very limited access. Like I did an entire Terminator show.
Sarah Connor Chronicles.
Sarah Connor Chronicles, man, is great. I got to write this beautiful theme for Sarah. And ironically, because I didn't have access to Brad Fiddel's theme beyond literally 5 seconds. In the main title, we go, ba-bum, bum, ba-bum.
Yeah.
Ba-bum, bum, bum, we're out of money. But I had to write a theme for Sarah that was beautiful and actually allowed her to grow as a character. It is about her, and she never had a theme in the movies. So that, it was like a blessing in disguise. And, I've you mentioned Halo. I've done Child's Play. I've had a lot of experience. I mean, Lord of the Rings, obviously, even God of War. I'm more often than not, it seems, I am stepping into a sandbox where other people have been playing and it's their toys, and it's my turn to play with the toys, and I want to be respectful. And then, I hand the toys to the next person. So it is something I think about a lot. With Halo, it was an obvious move. I mean, and I do not want to take all the credit. I mean, there was a new showrunner in Halo who was very open to this. I mean, he's being brought in to sort of bring a new perspective to the show, which I thought he did a beautiful job of doing that. And like in our first meeting, I said, "Hey, look, let's bring in that classic theme." And he was totally open to it, So yeah, it's I think that doing that is usually the right move. Not necessarily always, right? But like putting a classic theme up front and taking advantage of its emotional connection with an audience that you want to consume this thing, it's a win all around. It's a win all around. But I think the best one to look at is Godzilla, because I wanted these old themes, including the one from 1954, to be true themes, not cameos. And so often in modern media, it's like a little wink, wink, like, oh, there's a theme, but we're not taking it seriously. Personally, I find that almost like worse than not using the theme, because you're sort of acknowledging to the fan base, we don't know what to do with this, so we're going to put it in the end credits.
Yeah, one thing I really liked about Sonic 3 actually is that Live and Learn is like incorporated into the story as well. Like it's, I don't know if you've seen the movie, but like that's like an iconic piece of music for the Sonic fandom, and it's like completely built into the narrative.
For sure.
And that's I think you do that in Godzilla as well. In King of the Monsters, there's like little build-ups, and then Godzilla stomps through Boston, and you hear that theme, and it's a celebration of that legacy of that character.
Absolutely. And it's used in the body of the text in such a way that if you know what it is, it's awesome. If you don't know what it is,
it's still awesome.
Yes, that's the point. You don't need to know. It's not a wink. Like if you walk up to someone and go, wink, wink, and make a weird face, like, all right, I get what you're doing. It's so integrated into this sort of modern sound of the rest of the score. And you only use it when it works. For example, there is thematic material for King Ghidorah, but it wasn't hooky enough. I wouldn't have remembered it, and I thought, look, I need to tell the story of a three-headed god from another dimension, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna get Japanese Buddhist monks chanting 3 patterns of 3 patterns of 3 patterns. That's cool to me, right? Like. That's me writing a new theme, not because I can do something better than they did, but because I can do something more crafted to the drama of what we are doing right now.
Yeah, I would say Ghidorah's theme from the 60s, I think, is the first Ghidorah movie. It doesn't quite fit with the kind of bombastic, kind of scary Godzilla theme that was made for a more horror-centric film in the 50s.
For sure. And also, what would, if Godzilla has dun 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 dun. Ghidorah needs to contrast. You can't have his theme be similar. So that's why I had that. It was like a mantra. It's like hypnotic. I mean, it's almost like Ghidorah being like, "Yo, I don't even need to confront you. I'm so much more powerful."
And in the story, he's also like he's essentially hypnotizing the other Titans as well to come around him. So
all of the above. So it's. For me, it's using that old thematic material when it fits and when it works. It's the best, right? I mean, it's fantastic, and using it with respect. You can never go wrong, right? So anyway, that was how I ended up doing that on Halo. Yeah.
Well, going back to video game music as a whole, I would say like the art form of video game music is now, in the last like 10 years or so, has been treated with a lot more respect than it used to be. In the UK, at least, we have Classic FM now play a lot of video game music. The BBC Prom had its first ever video game music centric event in 2023. And there's also video game concerts. Obviously, your concert will include video game music as well. So I was wondering, like, someone who works on video games, how do you feel like seeing this entire like industry of music finally like being respected?
I think video games are on the same journey that film and television went through decades ago. When I was growing up, the only way I would ever hear music that challenged and surprised me was in film.
Mm.
Where else would I hear a bassoon solo outside of the Jawas in Star Wars, right? Not hearing it on the radio. I'm not hearing, my friends aren't going, dude, check out this Prokofiev bassoon solo, man. Listen to this Stravinsky piece. It's awesome. No, it was in film. And film took a long time to sort of get respect from film music, I should say, from mainstream audiences. And it took John Williams himself doing concerts in Boston and bringing it outside of the film and saying, hey, listen to this music on its own. That's a no-brainer now. But games are going through a very similar journey. I mean, today, if there's a kid who's 15, if that kid's going to hear a bassoon solo, it's in a game score. That's where a kid today hears a bassoon solo. It's why I write bassoon solos, man. I'm trying to pay it forward. But it's where young people are going. And so it's where they're hearing new things. So it's very wise for other mediums and for academia and for other fields to draw from this. Because it's like, that's where young people are going. And guess what? I hate to break it to you, but if that's where young people are going, they're going to stay there. So kids that like game music today are going to be like me. I was a kid who liked game music. I liked it when I was 10. I like it now. So it's something that I think is inevitable and a really good thing. I mean, I'm a 3-time Grammy nominee, 3 years in a row for a 3-year-old category, video game music. It's new, right? It's like even the Grammys are now catching up to this. So I think it's a really good thing. And truly that is part of why I launched my Themes and Variations tour, is that celebrating this music, especially the music of God of War. I mean, really, like when I played Blood Upon the Snow live with Hozier at the Game Awards, I just had this feeling like, okay, I got to do this again. When I played God of War theme live at E3 2016, I got to do this again. So the Themes and Variations tour is me grabbing the reins and saying, I got to do this again. I want to play those songs again and fill a hall with people that love TV and film and game music as much as I do.
One final question, if we have time. I was just wondering, like for the people listening, what are some video game soundtracks that you personally love that you think are kind of underrated, have gone under the radar, maybe games that aren't particularly known for their music, that when you play them, you're just like, this music is so good?
I mean, it's the underrated part is tough, you know, like if you don't know the music from Mega Man 2, if you think it's such a cliche that people like that music, I challenge you to go listen to it because there is a reason people talk about it. That was what clicked for me. The game music from that era was was so resourceful in using melody. I mean, I don't even know, again, I don't know that any game music is underrated because there's millions of people that love it, right? There's no game I could name that doesn't have millions of people. I'll tell you a game that surprised me that went way harder than it needed to was Genshin Impact. Oh my God. That game, the music is so gorgeous. And I'm walking around. I'm not free to play open world loot box guy. And that game is probably the best of that. I got it during the pandemic, right? Was just playing with my kid and we're walking around and I was finally like taking the controller, like, hold on, don't go in there yet. We're just walking around. I got to hear this. Like, what are they doing? The composers, I mean, it's almost hilarious, right? Like, here's this blank canvas and it's like, we're just going to put the most gorgeous live orchestral music here so that you want to walk around. But in a weird way, it's like, that's the system working. How does that game work? When you just spend hundreds of hours walking around there and it doesn't look great. It looks good, but it has a vibe because the graphics are very manageable, right? It's
made for mobile, isn't it?
Well, yes, exactly. So it's not like walking around, you know, Alfheim in God of War. It's more of a kind of Zelda aesthetic, obviously. but the music is so good. It just makes up for it. So that one, that's one I catch myself even listening to the soundtrack, just like vibing on it. It's so beautiful. So, hats off to them.
Well, I'm aware that we've got overtime. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk to me. And I wish you all the luck with your tour. And I think that after this, you'll probably end up wanting to do another tour.
Likely, man.
So, one, thank you for talking to me. And also just thank you so much for your work on all the things I love, specifically Godzilla and God of War and Halo. I have noticed the Godzilla t-shirt this entire time.
Oh, I not to even mention I'm wearing my Godzilla shirt. Yeah. Wow. I didn't even think of that. So there you go.
Okay.
I am quite the nerd myself.
I can tell. Thank you very much.
All right, man.
Have a good day.
Take care.